Welcome into the I-80 Boys College Football Show. Chris, we've got Colorado Buffaloes football on tap today. One of the most polarizing teams in the country. I want to turn this over to you. How do they follow up a 9-4 season last year under Dion? How do they do that going into year 3?
By doing worse. I'm giving you a 7-5 record, Christian. I know my feelings are not hurt with Colorado when I talk about them, as we know. No, I got them going 7-5, Christian. I got their losses here. Georgia Tech, BYU, Utah, Arizona State, and K-State. I got to hear your record prediction here. Don't tell me it's the same.
Damn, Chris, we're gonna go 3 for 3 today. Yeah, I got them 7-5 as well. I think I even think I have the same exact losses: Georgia Tech, BYU, Iowa State, Arizona State, and K-State.
Okay.
Count them. There you go. Chris, I want to touch base. Anyway, anyway, Colorado could potentially slide up to better, maybe 8-4, 9-3 again.
I think there's a way. Here's my thing. This is a thing. I'm just going to give it to you real here. I think it's going to be damn near impossible, though, because of what they lost, right? Shedeur Sanders, who, in my opinion, was one of the best quarterbacks of college football last year. You lose him. Not only did you lose him, you lost the Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter. I don't care what team you are, especially the caliber of Colorado. You can bounce back and be better than that. Now, it is the Big 12, which we laugh and point and chuckle about every year, that, whoever's at the bottom of the Big 12, then, the next year usually ends up winning the Big 12. It's not that I think Colorado will be a terrible team this year at 7-5, and they might go 8-4, also here. I mean, they could go 6-6, but even if they go 6-6, in my opinion, this year, Christian, that's a good year because of what they lost. They lost their whole receiver core too. Jimmy Horn's gone. They lost Shiloh Sanders on the back end in the secondary. One thing I will say, Christian, I want to hear your thoughts as well about this schedule. I mean, the Georgia Tech game will be very interesting. I think we're going to see where they stand, obviously, after week 1. Georgia Tech's a decent football team. But Colorado's got to figure out how to run the football, Christian. They're dead last out of the Power 4 last year in rushing. They give up a ton of rushing yards. I don't think they're a super physical team on the lines of scrimmages either. And that's got to change. I know the biggest question, too, as well, is who's going to play quarterback, right? They got the transfer from Liberty. It's like Caden Salter kid. And then they got the freshman Juju Lewis. So I think Salter will start. Personally, in my opinion, he's got the experience. But, man, it's hard. I guess my point is, man, it's damn near impossible to replicate what they have with those two studs last year. I mean, you could arguably say they had 2 out of the best top 5 players in the college football last year on the same team.
No, I definitely agree. Real quick, if you're watching this, comment down below. Did Shedeur deserve to have his jersey retired this year? Just let us know. I'm sure everybody will say, yeah, he's the greatest quarterback in the world. But, just let us know. All right. Getting back to it here. Yeah, Chris, I mean, you said it exactly right. Who's going to play quarterback for them? Big question mark. I personally think it's Caden Salter to start the year off. Liberty transfer. Flash 2 years ago had a phenomenal season. Last year, had a little bit of a regression year, but he still put up 22 total touchdowns, which is pretty good. They bring in Jaheim Otis, big defensive tackle from Alabama, who's going to help disrupt teams' ability to run the football when they randomly decide to do it, in Big 12 play. Not very often, right? Big 12 teams want to throw the ball a million times on you. Joseph Williams, he's the guy, right? I mean, like, we look at what they lost last year, losing Travis Hunter, losing Jimmy Horn, losing Will Shepard, losing LeJohntay Wester. Those guys, big production pieces. So they have to figure out who's going to play wide receiver. Again, Joseph Williams, Tulsa transfer, had 5 total touchdowns last year. Right now, he looks like he's going to kind of be the go-to guy as a key addition to this team. I want to kind of, stop and kind of talk about this, Chris. You touched on their ability to run the football has to get better, in my opinion. Some of my last thoughts on this are, can that O-line play better? Not just in the run game, but, I mean, also in pass protection. Shedeur was running for his life back there. He was, he had no time at points last year to do anything. I mean, they almost had to put out an APB on their offensive line because the guy almost got murdered last year. Their offensive line is going to have 4 new guys who transferred in. So they have got to be better than they were last year.
Yeah, you said it best, though, just real quick about the offensive line. I mean, not only, yes, the run game is going to have to get better. I don't think they're going to throw the ball as well as they have the past couple of years with Shedeur and Travis Hunter, obviously, were there. But, like, they got to be able to protect the quarterback, too. I mean, I will say this, and you heard me say a ton last year with Shedeur Sanders. That kid's a tough son of a bitch. Like, he was pulling himself off the ground, throw after throw after throw after throw, man. Like, it's got to get better. I know the Colorado man don't want to hear that, but it's very, very, very blatantly obvious. The both lines of scrimmage. Same way with, they did improve last year, stopping the run a little bit better than the year prior. But that's another thing, too. They got to get some guys in there that are a little more physical. Now, I know the coaching staff, they got Warren Sapp on there. They got all these, old school Hall of Fame, NFL players. But just because you're a great, NFL player doesn't mean you're a great coach, right? I know they brought in Marshall Faulk, if you didn't know this, to be the running backs coach, right? I mean, Marshall Faulk's arguably one of the 10 greatest running backs of all time. So, like I said, I like what Deion does there, but you got to be able to run the football a little bit. That's something that we've been saying this for 2 years about Colorado, Christian. The offensive line play as a whole has to get better.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with you, Chris. Has to get better. I want to end this segment with the most important game on their schedule, Chris. I've got it circled as Houston, believe it or not. Houston under Willie Fritz last year went 4-8, but they did bring in Connor Weigman from Texas A&M, and I do think stepping down from the SEC for Weigman, he's going to be playing a little better maybe in the Big 12. The reason why I have this as the most important game, Chris, is it's the start of their Big 12 play here. Colorado needs to start strong and they need to make a statement. But the difference between going 7-5 and 6-6 is night and day different. And if they can't beat Houston, it might be a long season, I feel like, for them once they really get into the thick of Big 12 play.
No, I mean, that's an interesting way to look at that. I would say the TCU game is a huge game as well. TCU is one of those teams that I think is going to be even better this year. They had a really good offense last year. The Iowa State game, that stretch they got in there in the middle with TCU, Iowa State, Utah. Utah had a historically bad season for the first time in a long time last year. A lot of injuries on that team as well. Arizona is just a bad team. But even the follow at the end of the year, the K-State game, right? I remember watching that K-State-Colorado game last year. That was an epic game on TV. That was a fun one to watch. As a whole, Christian, I want to ask you this to wrap up on, and I got a question here. Where do you think Colorado finishes this year as far as Big 12 play? I mean, there were talk last year that they were going to win the Big 12, right? They were really close to getting into the Big 12 title game last year. There was like 6 teams tied almost at the end of the year. If you remember that, Iowa State and Arizona State ended up getting in. But where do you have them kind of pegged? I know you said 7-5 like me. What do you think as far as do they finish in the upper echelon? Do you think, are they one? I mean, the Big 12 is just such I would say a dart at a dartboard every year.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, that's the thing we see every year. I mean, there's always one team that runs the gauntlet, and is like leaps and bounds better than everybody else, and it changes every year. And then there always seems to be like towards the end of the year, 3, 4, 5 teams that are all kind of like trying to fight for second place in the Big 12. So really in the Big 12, either you're elite or you're middle of the pack or you're at the bottom, right? And I don't think they're going to be at the bottom. I think they're maybe not going to be elite this year, but I do think they could be middle to upper of the pack there. Okay. I don't think they're the best team in the conference, but I don't think they're the worst team either. And I think, in a game where they're playing middle of the pack Big 12 teams, it's 50-50.